One day we got orders to storm a French position. We got in, and my comrades fell right and left of me. But then I was confronted by a French corporal, he with his bayonet at the ready, and I with my bayonet at the ready. For a moment, I felt the fear of death.
During World War I, day-to-day weaponry were mainly rifles. Most of World War I was fought with rifles. It was mainly all a standard British rifle. It could kill from 550 meters, but the maximum range for the bullet to reach was 2,280 meters. During the most intense part of World War I, the major powers of the war possessed around 11 million rifles. In the end, they ended up importing around 30 million more rifles. For example, the United States used the M1903 Springfield rifle. This gun could fire around 15 to 30 rounds per minute. Starting in 1936, the M1903 Springfield rifle was replaced by faster firing rifles. It was called the semi-automatic 8-round M1 Garand. John Garand was the one who invented this rifle. He was a Springfield armory engineer, and his invention of the M1 Garand was really appreciated. This rifle was extremely good because of the higher firing rate, higher magazine capacity, and its reload time was pretty fast. The Springfield armory became a round-the-clock operation with 3 shifts working to produce M1 rifles. When the Springfield Armory was at its peak, it made 1,300 rifles a shift. That is basically 165 rifles an hour. Later on in the war, there were some uses of the beam sight pistols. This gun uses a laser rifle to pinpoint where the enemy is and fire a bullet at the target. This system was used during World War I. Those were the main guns used during World War I.
Of mass destruction, or WMDs. There were 2 types of WMDs that were most often used in World War I, chemical and biological weapons. In World War I, gas was often used, specifically chlorine, phosgene, and mustard gas. Around 91,000 deaths were caused by gas and 1 million casualties. Chlorine gas was the first effective use of poison in the war. It would tear up the lungs and cause burning pain on the skin. Phosgene caused the most deaths, estimated to be the cause of 85% of the 91,000 deaths. The most widely known is mustard gas. It would affect soldiers long-term, causing hospitalizations and cancers. Chemical weapons weren't the only WMDs used, though. Biological weapons were used as well. Germany would send horses to the Allied countries that were infected with anthrax and glanders. Anthrax was extremely harmful, leading to infection and damage to multiple organ systems. Glanders was fatal as well, killing 9 out of 10 people without treatment and 5 out of 10 people with treatment. Reconnaissance technology. While the Cold War is most known for the use of spies and reconnaissance technology, World War I was not void of the tech at the time. They used devices such as the pigeon camera. Its name is exactly what it is, a small camera mounted on a homing pigeon to survey military sites. Various types of communication were used as well. These included radios, telegraphs, messenger dogs, signal lights, carrier pigeons, and field telephones. This caused the need for cryptography. Cryptography is the art of writing and solving code. It was broken by using various mathematical theories and information gained by spies. Traps. Traps in World War I included tripwires and wired explosives. Tripwires were strong and could cut through soldiers' boots. Troops would put them in the trenches and in grass. Landmines were used fairly often as well. Hundreds were detonated on both sides. An improved version was usually a buried artillery shell. Although mines were invented during the Civil War, the Germans in fact began using them in World War I.
Tanks were developed to break through barbed wire and destroy enemy machine gun posts. The British and French were the major users of tanks, as Germany didn't use tanks because they thought tanks were a defensive strategy. The few tanks Germany did build were captured and reused by the British and French. Most armored cars were produced by building armored bodywork over large cars and trucks. Trains were also produced by building armor around it for protection. Trains usually included wagons with armed artillery, machine guns, and autocannons. Some had stilts used to fire small arms from inside the train. They were one of the main ways to quickly move large amounts of firepower. The Class B standardized military truck, or Liberty truck, was a heavy-duty truck produced by the U.S. Army. It was designed by the Quartermaster Corps with help from the Society of Automotive Engineers in 1917 in an effort to help standardize the immense parts and catalog. It was the first official standardized motor vehicle adopted and produced by the U.S. military. Naval technology during World War I was dominated by the Dreadnought battleship. Battleships were built along the Dreadnought model, with several large turrets of equally sized big guns. In general, British ships had larger guns and were equipped and manned for quicker fire than their German counterparts. World War I was the first major war where airplanes were used as a significant part of the military. The airplane was invented by the Wright brothers in 1903, just 11 years before the start of World War I. When the war first began, aircraft played a small role in warfare, but by the end of the war, the Air Force had become an important branch of the armed forces. The first use of airplanes in World War I was for reconnaissance. The airplane would fly above the battlefield and determine the enemy's movement and position. One of the first major contributions of airplanes in the war was at the First Battle of Marne, where Allied reconnaissance planes spotted a gap in the German lines. The Allies attacked this gap and were able to split the German armies and drive them back.